Hello and welcome back, goats, to the Big Blue Purple channel, and to my second time attempting to record this video because I ran out of storage when I was recording the first one. So yeah, we're going to be ranking the Dark Souls 3 bosses based on their difficulty at Soul Level 1. I recently did a Soul Level 1 playthrough of this game. It was a really fun time, super challenging, really forces you to learn a lot of these fights to perfection even, and it's such a good time. Highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in challenge running and just testing their own limits. It's such a fun challenge, and I'm kind of hoping to do the same thing in Elden Ring. I don't get the best performance on that game, and I could see myself getting mad over the fact that I'm getting frame drops in a fight and that's why I'm dying or whatever, or blaming that even if it's not the reason I died. So I'm gonna wait a bit before I start Rune Level 1 Elden Ring. There's a couple things I'm afraid of, particularly Elden Beast and his Elden Stars. But this isn't a video about Elden Ring. Let's talk about Dark Souls 3. Let's talk about the bosses. Let's talk about Soul Level 1. Starting off with Abyss Watchers, which is a really interesting fight at Soul Level 1. I'm going to put them in the A tier, because these guys are a lot harder at Soul Level 1 than they are on normal playthroughs. Like, Abyss Watchers on normal playthroughs are kind of a joke, because you could just armor through everything they do and stagger the fuck out of them. And for first phase, it just destroys them, and in second phase, it also just kind of destroys them. But when you're fighting this guy at Soul Level 1, you really have to bait and punish. You need to look for the attacks you know you can consistently backstab, or you know you can consistently get a good hit in from. And first phase in particular, there's kind of a lot of RNG with if the third guy's going to attack the second guy, or if he's going to attack you, or if he's going to attack the boss. And if he attacks the boss, it's kind of fucking annoying, because then you have to fight the second guy, and it just extends the fight. But there's tons of different ways to approach Abyss Watchers, which is why they're one of my favorite fights. You could just go kill the second and third guy yourself. You could do whatever the fuck you want. This is Dark Souls 3. So, but for me and from my experience, I struggle with these guys a good amount. I'd say they were my first skill check in the run. I'd say I had about 15 deaths to them or something. Maybe less, maybe more. But that sounds about right in my head. If you do have Lloyd's Shield Ring, if you go to the Cathedral first, which I did not do, you could survive a hit. I actually used Blue Tearstone Ring in this fight, because if the Abyss Watcher does a swing and you survive it by any chance, and he follows it up with a dagger, you can actually survive that dagger hit if you're wearing Blue Tearstone Ring. And that did come in handy a couple of times while I was practicing the fight. I think eventually by the time I beat it, I wasn't getting hit by that shit anymore. But it's helpful. Your first time through and practicing the fight, you get a couple more mistakes than you usually would, because this is one of the earlier game bosses that still allows for a few mistakes at Soul Level 1, because it's like they don't expect you to be super high level when you get to them. But still a very challenging fight for me, largely because you're balancing so many enemies as well in the first phase. Second phase is just a lot of bait and punish. Wait for him to do the big fire spin in the air, and then get behind him and backstab. Otherwise, there's a couple of attacks you can consistently punish, but overall, a pretty scary fight and a pretty fun fight at Soul Level 1. It really reinvigorated the love I have for these guys, because it made them a challenge again, and I love that. Aldrich I'm putting in the C tier, because I had a really easy time with Aldrich. The only thing you really need to look out for in this fight is if he does fire arrows in phase 2. Or just arrows in phase 2, rather. Well, he's on fire, the arrows are not. But those arrows in phase 2 are fucking, oh my god. Ugh. They will shred you. Good luck surviving that. Otherwise, though, this fight is largely a joke. If you know the trick, when he goes into second phase, just in case you didn't know, when he goes into second phase, he will go as far away from you as he possibly can. So what you do is you stand in one spot and then you book it to the other side of the arena. And that's where he'll be. Every time, it consistently works. It's really good to avoid arrows. So yeah, little tip there. Ancient Wyvern, this guy is the same as he always is. You still one-shot him and he's still easy. So the Axe and Chain guy one-shots you now, which is a good old time, but it's not that bad. You'll get past him. Champion Gundy, and this is a really interesting fight at Soul Level 1, because if you learn how to parry him, he's one of the easiest fights in the entire game. Like, this dude's windows on all of his attacks are so big. Like, you can just, like, a fucking animal could parry this guy. A dog could get on Dark Souls 3 and could figure out how to parry Udex Gun or Champion Gundy. I can't believe how generous the parry timing is. The only thing you got to look out for is when he charges at you with his spear and then does the spin after. I'm 90% sure that isn't parryable. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe the spin itself is parryable, but the lunge with the spear absolutely is not parryable. And then like any of his melee attacks with his fists or with his elbow, you obviously can't parry. But otherwise, like I think he goes down in like 5 or 6 parries with a +10 weapon, and you'll obviously have a +10 weapon by the time you're at him, if you're playing that way. So yeah, great fight though. I love this fight. It's just in terms of difficulty, definitely not higher than a C tier. As for Champion Gravetender, this is another fight I would probably put in the D tier. I probably died to this guy more than I died to these two, but the thing is, he's still not hard. Like, if I was ranking them on how much I died to them, he'd probably be here, because I actually died to Champion Gravetender way more than I'd like to admit. Probably like 10 to 12 attempts before I finally killed him. The thing with this boss is, once the fucking 3 dogs at the beginning of the fight are dead, you've pretty much won. And once the Gravetender is dead, you have 100% won. Because the Great Wolf is super, super predictable, and when he goes into phase 2, you can kill him while he's shouting. So easy. If you use Profane Greatsword, you can cheese the fuck out of the NPC, which you should, because fuck NPC fights in this game. But, yeah, I'd put him in the D tier, because once you know what you're doing, this fight is easier than even these fights. Like, it's just a matter of killing the dogs as fast as you can, and then getting the Gravetender down. But yeah, I could see an argument for him being in C tier. I'm just going to put him in the D tier for now. Crystal Sage. This is another D tier boss. Crystal Sage is kind of one of those bosses where you either go in and one-shot him, or you go in and get one-shot by him. Thankfully, I just went in and one-shot him on my first SL1 playthrough. I have been working on a second one, and this guy actually killed me like 5 times in a row. And I was just in awe. I was like, maybe Crystal Sage is the real final boss. Like, what the fuck? But overall, like, super easy fight. The only thing you have to look out for is you really want to kill him before he runs away. You really want to kill him before he runs away and spawns a bunch of clones. But you really can. You can either parry him, or you can bait the Soul Mass attack if you're lucky. That's what I got, and you just run in a circle and hit him, and he will not teleport. Curse Rod of Greatwood. This is another D tier fight. I fought him like second, like I usually do. Just pick up the charcoal pine bundles in the Undead Settlement and the pine resin if you want to be extra fancy, and you can kill all of the little pus things on his body in 1 or 2 hits, and then the big one you kill in like 4 hits. Super easy fight with charcoal pine resin, like it's so trivial. Dancer, and Dancer is going to be our first S tier fight. This fight gave me so much trouble in my first run. It was the ultimate skill check for an SL1 run. If you could beat Dancer, you could beat the rest of the game, but you need to get past Dancer. And Dancer is tough. The reason Dancer is so much tougher than even a boss like Lauren and Lothar, which I'll talk about later, is because Dancer, at the point you fight Dancer, you will not be doing as much damage as you want to no matter what. You'll always be doing like a little less damage than you'd like to, because you are stuck using a +7 weapon. I don't think you can get to +8 before Dancer. Maybe with the DLCs you can. Well, actually, if you kill Freed, then yes, you could. But I think killing Freed is a little bit harder than killing Dancer, so we'll get to that, though. But yeah, I think S tier is a good placement for this fight. It really is the first skill check. Once you figure it out and learn all of her attacks, it actually becomes one of the easier fights. Because if you didn't know, when she goes into her second phase, and she does her 7 spins, okay? She does 7 spins before she does she does 6 spins, and then she does the big final spin, so 7 in total. But while she's doing those 6 spins, you can hit her and dodge through the 7th. Consistently every time. It's actually way easier than you think. Just hug her ass and keep hitting her. And then dodge through the 7th. And you can like kill her before she even finishes the attack if you're doing good damage. If you're doing that on a normal playthrough, you will shred this boss. At soul level 1, I actually didn't know you could do that my first time fighting her, so it took me a while to figure that out, and then it made the fight a lot easier. Overall, a really fun fight, though. Super well designed, super satisfying fight to pull off. She punishes Greed super hard because she looks passive all the time. She looks like she's not doing anything. And as soon as you cave and press that fucking button like a dumbass, she will kill you every time without fail. So yeah, don't play like a dumbass like I was for 3 hours straight before I got it, but definitely a great fight, super fun, really challenging. Okay, Madeira. Madeira's another S tier fight, but I don't think I had as much trouble with him as Dancer, ironically, because Madeira is in a casual playthrough one of the hardest fights for a lot of people. And Dancer on the flip side is kind of not that hard on a casual playthrough, because again, like, she doesn't do that much damage by the time you get to her normally. But Madeira, the thing with Madeira is that he will one-shot you no matter what, but the elevator outside of his room lets you set up red tier stone ring every time consistently, so just do that. Don't even like try to stack defensive rings. You probably can survive if you want to, but if you make a mistake in Madeira, you're better off dead, because red tier stone ring does so much extra damage on a boss like this with so much health. Yeah, highly recommend using it. You could totally use Lloyd's Sword Ring instead, though, if you'd prefer, but that's just my 2 cents. This is probably my favorite boss in the entire run, actually. Madeira is so well designed, and it's a fight of spacing. You never want him to, like, get far away from you. You always want to be super up close in his face. You do not want to be under him. You don't want to be beside him. You don't want to be far away from him. But if you're in front of his face, he will always do the same kind of set of attacks, and you can consistently react to them and dodge them. It takes a bit of time to learn what all of his combos are, because he has a 6-hit combo, a 4-hit combo, a 3-hit combo, 2 2-hit combos that lead into a fire breath, and then a 2-hit combo that leads into just a window for you to hit him. So that's just off memory right now. I'm sure I'm missing some things, but just based on his melee combos. You can punish every single one of them. And that's what makes this fight so fun, is there's never a time in this fight where you don't have an opening. And that's great. Whereas, like, fights we'll talk about later do not leave themselves open very much. Whereas, like, Madeira leaves himself open a ton. Even though he has a lot of health, the amount of openings he leaves makes him probably the easiest, major DLC boss. Like, if we're not talking about Gravetender, I think he is the easiest major DLC boss, once you get him down. He could totally seem intimidating before that, though. So, yeah, that's Madeira. Deacons of the Deep, I think these guys are D tier. Like, not much to say about them. Exactly the same as in a casual playthrough. You will just steamroll them. You can still take hits at level 1 from, like, all of them. There's no danger in this fight at all. Demon Prince. This guy is the hardest boss we've talked about so far. Demon Prince is so fucking difficult at Soul Level 1, and it's not because of his Demon Prince phase. It's because of the first phase. The first phase is so challenging at Soul Level 1 because you need to be extremely patient and make sure there is an opening. You cannot just greed on the demons. And it took me so long to just stop greeding on the demons. And the best weapon you could use for this at Soul Level 1 is actually the Morning Star. I deep infused it. Or dark, I can't remember. Whichever one doesn't have scaling. I think that's the deep infusion. So I deep infused it, and you get a stagger on him every like 6 or 7 hits, which is crazy because staggers do a lot of damage. So, and it even works on like the actual second phase too. You stagger the second phase a ton as well. So highly recommend using the Morning Star or any other type of weapon like that you can wield. The Morning Star is just one you can quickly go buy from the Handmaiden, get it up to plus 10, put a nice deep infusion on it. Really, really great weapon for this fight. Either way, these guys are like, they're your rite of passage to the rest of the DLC. They are your, like, if you can beat these guys, you can do the rest. But if you can't, then leave. And they're fucking hard. Fucking hard, man. One of my favorite fights in the game. Super satisfying to finally pull off. I died to them probably less than some other bosses we'll talk about later, but I did die to them a fuck ton. Dragonslayer Armor. I think this is our first B tier boss, I think. Surprisingly, Dragonslayer Armor is easier than Abyss Watchers at Soul Level 1. And I think the primary reason for that is that you have a plus 10 weapon at Dragonslayer Armor, and he leaves himself open way more than Abyss Watchers leave themselves open. Dragonslayer Armor has, like, so many attacks I can think of right now that just leave him open for, like, 2-3 hits. And, like, his big, where he raises his axe in the sky and then slams it down, and lightning comes out, I think you get, like, 5 hits on him while he's doing that. It's crazy. Because of the amount of openings this guy leaves, I feel like he's a lot easier than these bosses up here. Whereas, like, Dancer leaves a good amount of openings, to be fair, but that's not where the challenge comes from. Demon Prince in his fucking his first phase never leaves openings. He's such a dick. And Madeira does leave openings a lot, but he has so much health, so it balances out. Dragonslayer Armor is just a boss with not that much health that leaves a ton of openings, and you will get him down in a couple attempts. He's definitely harder than these bosses for me. I think he took 7 attempts or 6 attempts. So, just to figure out his moveset. You still need to learn it. You're definitely not going to just roll him. Maybe you will, but I didn't. B tier is a fitting placement in my opinion. Half-Light is a horseshit fight that I would put in a tier below the tier list if I could for how dog shit it is, but this is a difficulty ranking and not a quality ranking. So I'm going to put it in the C tier, and no, I'm not talking about the PvP. I think the PvP is really cool, and it's a cool callback to Demon's Souls, but Steam doesn't have PvP right now. So I had to fight the normal Half-Light. I think it would have been really funny to fight someone at SL1 like a real player, but I can't do that yet. If they ever put the servers back up, maybe I'll try that, but NPC Half-Light is so bad. It's so bad. I think it's my most hated fight in this entire game, all things considered. It's just so bad. Fucking Half-Light can stun lock you with any of his attacks and do a full combo and just kill you. At soul level 1, that's even more exemplified. But even at like a normal soul level, he can do 2 charged R2s into each other. It's so ass. I fucking hate this boss. And the 2 painted guardians are so annoying. You're going to be using Lloyd's sword ring in this fight because you need to be able to survive hits. You're not going to be using red tier stun unless you're a god gamer, but I'm not. I'm a fucking normal Dark Souls player. So, God, I fucking hated this fight. Use Profane Greatsword. Do yourself a favor. But the reason I brought up fucking Lloyd's sword ring is that the painted guardians throw these throwing knives at you that come out like fucking frame 1 of the animation, and they remove your Lloyd's sword ring, so you have to reheal every time. And it's so annoying. It's so fucking annoying. I hate this boss. It's so bad. But anyway, bring in your Profane Greatsword with Knight's Ring. You can 2-hand it if you do that. And you can just spam R1, sorry, R2. Charge R2, and it stun locks the boss into an infinite stun lock. And you can do it to the Painted Guardians as well. So that is the most consistent way to beat this guy on all soul levels, but definitely at soul level 1. I'm sure there's other weapons that can do that stagger with him, but Profane Greatsword is the one you can wield at soul level 1, so it just comes to mind. Anyway, God, I could just fucking talk about how much I hate this fight for hours, but this video is already getting too long, and I don't know if I have the hard drive space to do this again, so yeah, let's move on. Gundy. Normal Gundy. Normal Gundy is kind of hard to rank because he's exactly the same as if you fought him in a normal playthrough. Like, being soul level 1 doesn't change anything for this fight. You're basically soul level 1 every time you fight him. So, it's kind of hard for me to rank. I'm just going to put him in the C tier with Champ, because I do think he's harder than these bosses. Like, at this point, I'm sure most of us are very good at Gundy and can kill him very consistently, but I think he's harder than all of these bosses below him. Not like Aldrich or Half-Light, but all of these D tier bosses. I think he is harder than, even though he's not a hard fight or anything, just in terms of design. That's how I feel. Lauren and Lothar. I love this fight. This fight's fucking great. And I would put them kind of in A tier, but at the same time, they're bordering on an S tier, but like not really. The reason I want to say they're not in A tier is because I don't think they're easy. I don't think they're as easy as Abyss Watchers, but I don't think they're as hard as these 3. So I think I actually am just going to make an A+ tier. Let's do that real quick. Make it actually we'll make it this color, and then we will make this one this color. Nice. Beautiful. All right. A+ tier. Cool. That's how I'm feeling about Lauren and Lothar. The reason I think this is because you do have to play perfectly, but for some reason, it's a lot easier than it sounds in this fight. Lauren and Lothar have a very intuitive moveset that makes a lot of sense to dodge, at least to me. The only thing you can survive a hit from is Lothar's magic bullshit when phase 2 starts, and in my fight with him, he did it 3 times, and I was getting really mad because that fucking attack is so bullshit. But I beat these guys perfectly. It was my first like major flawless fight where I felt really good that I beat it without taking hits, and I loved it. I had a really good time. I'd say he took 30 attempts, nearly. Maybe it felt like 30 attempts because the elevator to him takes so long, and if you can forget to send the elevator back down, you take the wrong elevator and then go down and waste like 10 minutes. If you've ever used that shortcut for Lauren and Lothar, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But that was the real boss. I would say maybe it was 20 attempts just because it felt like a lot longer with the run back. Even so, really, really fun fight and one of the harder fights in the run, but not an S tier challenge. And Nameless King is the other reason I want to make an A+ tier, because I think Nameless King is not quite S tier, He's a little bit easier than these fights, but he was still quite a challenge. First phase is very easy. You're just going to have to learn how to fight the camera properly. And once you get that down, which you will get down because you're going to be dying to second phase more anyway, second phase is a blast. Dodging Nameless King and dealing with all of his shit and playing it perfectly is so unbelievably satisfying because it's one of the fairest fights in the game, I think. He doesn't have any move that I can think of in his second phase where I get hit by it and I'm like, oh, that's fucking bullshit. Like, no. Like, Nameless King has super good tells, he's super consistent, and he makes a lot of sense, and he's really fun, and I like him a lot. And in his second half of his second phase, where he gets lightning on all of his attacks, I think it's even easier, because he leaves himself open so much on those attacks. If he does the one where he shoots lightning into the sky, and it comes down like a second later, you get like 5 hits on him while he's charging that up. It's amazing. Super fun fight, though. And he staggers at one point in the fight, if you're hitting him enough. And that staggers in fights are huge. It's the reason I think Madeira is the easiest of the S tier fights, potentially A+. Because the stagger at the end literally takes like a fifth of his health off for you. It's so good. Osiris. This boss is hard for me to rank. I think I'm going to put him in the B tier, but I did not die to him. I did not die to him, and I don't know if this is a good ranking. Because just going off difficulty, he was literally like here. Or like here. I don't even know what to say. But like, thinking about Osiris and thinking about the shit Osiris could do makes me want to put it in B tier. I think I just got good luck on my Osiris fight and it went really well. But I know what a bad Osiris fight can look like, and it could be utter hell at level 1. So I put him in the B tier. I fought him pretty early, actually. I fought him like right after Dancer. I think I had a +8, maybe a +9, and it was a wash. For me, at least. I feel like I got lucky. But hey, if you fought Osiris at soul level 1, let me know in the comments below how you thought of the fight and if it was hard for you or easy for you or what. Old Demon King, I kind of can't even rank, but I'm just going to put him in D. Because I went to Old Demon King after nearly the entire base game. All I had left was Soul of Cinder and DLC. And I just shredded him. I had a +10 weapon. It wasn't even fair. Poor guy didn't even get to stand up. So yeah, I'm just going to put it here because at least when you go to him that late, he is definitely one of the easiest bosses in the game. Not much else to say. Pontiff. Pontiff is exactly like Champion Gundy, where if you don't know how to parry this guy, he's a fucking asshole and he's really hard. But if you know how to parry this guy, he just becomes like a complete joke. Because not only can you parry him, but after you parry him, you can manipulate him into doing another parryable attack right after. And if you do that, and you have a +10 weapon, which I did because I killed Dancer first, you do 2 parries, and then you R1 spam him while he's spawning the clone. And that's it. You're done. He's dead. So yeah, maybe if you do him with a unupgraded weapon, it's harder. Or like not an unupgraded weapon, but like a +4, +5. Maybe it's harder, but I still think because you can parry him, and because you get so many hits when he's spawning the clone, that this fight is actually a lot easier than it seems. Freed. Freed is potentially the hardest fight we've talked about. Maybe Demon Prince is harder. But Freed's really hard. Freed is really hard because Freed is really intimidating when you first start fighting her. It seems like nothing she does is punishable. The only thing I was consistently like confident punishing was the invisible attack at first. But she leaves more openings than you think. Her delayed scythe swing is always punishable. You can even get a backstab if your positioning is good. And all of her attacks that she does out of her stance are punishable as well. You just have to make a good read on them and be ready for what comes. Otherwise, like, because you can backstab her and then charge R2 and then R1 spammer, phase 1 is a joke. Phase 1 goes by so fast once you figure it out. Phase 2, though. Phase 2 of Freed is fucking hell. It is so hard. It's so unbelievably hard at soul level 1. Because managing what Ariandel is doing and managing what Freed is doing is just way harder than I thought it would be. I even think it's harder than managing the Demon Princes. Because I feel like the Demon Princes interact in a more predictable way. Freed and, like, Ariandel will just decide to do random fucking bullshit at any point in the fight. And Freed can just, like, she can go from spamming her ice on the floor, which she usually does, to just rushing you down for no apparent reason. And it's so weird. But eventually you'll get it. You'll figure it out. You'll realize that it's really just a test of patience. You'll be running in circles for minutes before you get an opening. But all of that gets you to third phase, and I think third phase is actually significantly easier than second phase because you can just bait out the attacks you know you can punish and get backstabs and then kill her in like 3 or 4 backstabs if you're doing the proper charge R2 into R1s after. If you don't know which attacks to be baiting in phase 3, any of the ones where she jumps in the air and does either fire or ice, you can run behind and backstab. And also, you want her to do the really, really long combo where she ends it with a jumping attack. You can also punish that. So those are your like 3 main attacks you want to be punishing. There's definitely other stuff you can punish, but I was too much of a bitch to figure it out because like I didn't want to die on phase 3 and go back to phase 2, even though that happened like 6 times. By the 7th, I was over it. I just wanted to kill her. I was just going to go for the safe attacks, and it worked. You can watch the video on my channel. I did upload it. First phase is cut out because I didn't have my OBS or my shadow play set to 10 minutes. I had it set to 5, so we didn't get the whole fight. But yeah, really, really hard fight, really fun fight, really satisfying fight when you get it down, and one of my favorite in the game still. And speaking of favorite fight in the game and really hard, Gail. Gail is so hard that we traded at the end. He killed me when I killed him. Because fuck you. I mean, he didn't kill me. The lightning killed me, but fuck. It was a really, really, really fun fight to learn at Soul Level 1. And I literally made a character where I rushed the DLC as fast as I possibly could just to fight Gail again after. Because I love that fight so much. Gail is so good. Gail is so good. He's extremely fair. Like, more fair than you might expect. Like the crossbow, where you think you might take a hit from it, it's more fair than you think. You can just dodge it. The orbs he shoots out in third phase and managing the lightning is entirely possible. It's entirely manageable. It's just stressful. It's just high tension, fucking intense fight. Absolutely my favorite fight in the whole game. All 3 phases of it are memorable and have different unique movesets. I mean, phase 2 and 3 are very similar, but phase 1 is so good too. Oh, I love this fight. It's so good. So good. Definitely my S tier in difficulty and S tier in quality. God, most of these are actually. I think all the S tiers are S tier in both. Maybe Dancer would be like an A tier in a quality tier list. Hey, maybe we'll make that. Maybe we'll make a quality tier list after this, but I don't have the hard drive space for it right now, apparently. God, fuck me. Okay, anyway, moving on. We've talked enough about Gail, I guess. I could talk about Gail for hours, but let's just say he's the best boss in the game and move on. Soul of Cinder. Soul of Cinder is the most surprising S tier difficulty fight in a Soul Level 1 run. I don't know if I'm the only one who just rolls this guy in every casual playthrough, but I genuinely thought this boss was like easy because of how many times like I've just rolled him in a normal level playthrough. At Soul Level 1, because nearly everything he does one-shots you, it's just insanely difficult. You have to manage 4 separate movesets in phase 1, and 2 of which you don't even want to go near, to be honest. Pyromancer is just a no-go. Don't fucking touch him when he's a Pyromancer. And Lance phase, you really want to be careful with and bait out certain attacks. Sorcerer is annoying as fuck, but it is the best one for him to go into because you get a lot of hits if you know what you're doing. But that's Soul Mass, dude. If he does the Soul Mass and then switches to Pyromancy, you're going to hate your life. You're going to hate the game. It's so fucking annoying. Phase 2... What you want to do in phase 2 to minimize deaths to it and having to restart phase 1 is bait out his jumping slash. His jumping slash is a consistent punish, and if he does the follow-up, you get 2 hits for free. Because you're going to hit him the first time, and then he does the follow-up, you dodge, and you hit him again. It's great. Great fucking attack for him to do. It's the main thing you want him to do. The other thing you want him to do is the big charge lightning where he throws it up into the sky, and then it comes raining down on top of you. That's the other one you want him to do. If he does that, you're fucking chilling. You get like 2 or 3 free hits if you're fast enough on it. Otherwise, just stay the fuck away from him. Stay the fuck away from him. He has so much range. He's so scary. He one-shots you with every single one of his attacks in phase 2. Absolutely horrifying boss fight. This is a fight I would recommend stacking Prisoner's Chain, Ring of Steel Protection +3, and Lloyd's Shield Ring, just to make sure you don't get one-shot. Because fuck, it is hard if you get one-shot. Alright. Moving on to a much easier set of bosses now. Vorts. Vorts is, he's Vorts. I want to put him in C tier because I like him, but he's not. He's D tier. He's easy. He's really, really easy. If you don't know with Vorts, in his first phase, you just stay directly under him and he literally can't hit you. And in his second phase, you can either kill him before he charges, or when he charges, Dodge away from him the first 2 times, and on the 3rd time, dodge with him, and then he'll do his Frost Breath, and you can kill him while you're behind him, because you rolled with him. It's kind of like how with Gail, you want to roll with his jumping slash as opposed to away from it. Wolnir is also a D tier fight. I don't even know what to say. Like, you just kill the bracelets and he's dead. Like, there's pretty much no way for you to die in this fight unless you, like, get really bad RNG, I guess, and he spams shit that's annoying, like the breath. But typically, like, the trick is to not pick up the Pyromancy Tome. Go in and just start hitting his hands, his right side. Hit his right side first, and it manipulates his RNG into just being a lot better, I find. But yeah, overall, really nothing to say about Wolnir. He's one of the easiest fights in the entire game. And Yorm is kind of the same story. I fought Yorm with the Storm Ruler because that's what I did. You can fight him without it. It's not much harder, to be honest. Yorm has, like, no moves. Yorm has, like, 5 attacks in total, and they're really easy to dodge. Fighting him, like, without Storm Ruler just takes a really long time. It's not particularly challenging. It's a fun challenge to do, but, like, if you are intimidated of no Storm Ruler Yorm, I encourage you to try it. It is way easier than a lot of people think. Like, he's kind of just a manageable boss. The pro tip is to aim for his arms and his head. Hit him while he is down. Wait for him to do something that puts him down on the ground and then hit him. But anyway, I didn't fight him without the Storm Ruler on this run, so I don't know why I'm giving new advice on that. But that looks like it's going to be the list. D tier doesn't matter how this is ordered. This guy was technically the hardest, but fucking hell, these are all easy bosses. I guess this is kind of an awkward middle section since we just have one boss in the A tier, but I really do feel like A is not a good enough place for these guys, and I feel like B is not fair to Abyss Watchers because they were a little bit harder than a B, in my opinion. So maybe they could be B+, arguably. But anyway, I think I'm pretty happy with this list. If you've done Soul Level 1, leave your comments below. Let me know who your hardest bosses were. These were mine. These S tier ones. Soul of Cinder just blew my mind with how much harder he was than, like, on a normal playthrough. Fucking hell. But yeah, really, really fun challenge run. I encourage anyone who's even slightly interested in challenging themselves with this game again to do it. It is not as hard as you may think. There are definitely hard moments, and there will be a lot of practice involved, but it's not as hard as, like, speedrunning the game or no-hitting the game. Like, it's a very manageable challenge run that a lot more people can do than they may think. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I don't really know what other kind of content I want to be making right now. I've just been kind of on a Dark Souls binge after Elden Ring and wanted to talk about it. I had a lot of fun doing my Soul Level 1 run. Maybe if people want to see it, I can, like, give tips on Soul Level 1, talk about what I did to make it easier, but I don't really know. Anyway, subscribe, drop a like, have a good rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next one.